that, it is my honor and pleasure to introduce Sean Astin. Sean the Brave has been fighting in the deep red lands of Indiana, and he's been on an epic Astin for Harris quest across these lands. And by the way, he's 5'0" nothing, 100 and nothing, and he's been hanging in there against the best Republican opposition. Sorry, wrong movie, but you take my point. Sean returns to us now at the turning of the tide.
Woo! Holy cow. That was incredible. I'm not sure how you follow that. Thank you for that incredible experience, Gandalf. Lynda, thank you so much for having me. You are, as always, a vision and such an extraordinary human being. Your beauty, your strength, your intellect, your passion, your drive. You're just, you are Wonder Woman. Except I also know another Wonder Woman from that era, my mother. And I've been married to a Wonder Woman for 32 years. And we have 3 Wonder Girls, our 3 daughters coming up behind us. So it just seems altogether fitting and proper to be here with you, Lynda, to celebrate and fight for the first woman president, the soon-to-be first woman president of the United States of America, Kamala Harris. So I'm looking at Geeks and Nerds for Harris, and you know, my list of bona fides as a nerd and a geek are so long, I don't want to run out my clock listing them all. But I will say I've spent the last 2 years getting my master's degree in public administration and public policy. And so you could find me any time of the day and night with papers and books and strewn around and finding nooks and crannies to go to airports to take tests in. So pretty nerdy. Pretty nerdy. I also want to say that, you know, being a geek or a nerd, those words have been such words of affirmation and words of strength and empowerment and kind of the taking back of something of our own power. But they did start as epithets. They did start as real negative bullying words. And in this country for the last 9 years, we've been getting bullied. We've been getting bullied by Donald Trump and the Trump movement and the MAGA movement. And, you know, Biden Harris stood up to them in 2020 and beat them, beat the bullies back. Well, they're like a fungus. They've come back to us again now. And what they're bullying as much as anything is our system of government, our way of being. The nature of order in our society. I will never forget the image of our sacred Capitol torn asunder with smoke and banners and anger and screaming and crying and fighting and a dead police officer and a dead every time I hear somebody from the other side minimize that or disavow it in some way, it makes me want to fight harder. So my superpower, because I heard everybody else's superpower, my superpower is empathy. I don't know if it's because my parents were divorced or because my mother suffered from a bipolar mood condition, but I somehow was given the gift of being able to feel my own heart and feel other people's hearts. So let me just speak in my last moments here to this idea of the hero's journey. I didn't want to wait anymore for the campaign to come up with stuff for me to do. I know from having done other presidential campaigns that each one of these campaigns is an opportunity for us to have a story, our story. What is our relationship to this moment in time, this moment in history, in American history? This could not be any more historic. They're all historic, but this is writ large. So I just decided I was going to start campaigning on my own. I asked the campaign, I'm like, listen, well, can I just go do my own thing? And they're like, yeah, go. So I came up with Astin for Harris, and I traveled around to 6 different states, just driving around, going to campaign offices and offering support, and it fed into going to the convention and just being kind of like a mascot at the convention, which is really fun. But what I will say is, I want to talk to the thousands of people who are watching live right now or who might watch this later. Your story relative to this campaign. I don't know if you've ever made a campaign phone call, if you've ever put your credit card information in and made a donation, if you've ever walked with your friends or with your colleagues or your fellow citizens and knocked on doors and canvassing. I don't know if you've ever done those things. If you've never done those things, try it. It is absolutely empowering. You have the ability in these next 45, 46 days to make your story real. And I see that it says wrap up, but I'm just going to do this. I'm like a guy, like a busker on a street corner. I'm going to do this speech. And if the speech moves you, smash the button and donate right now. It's like in the great stories, Mr. Frodo, the ones that really matter, full of darkness and danger they were. And sometimes you didn't want to know the end, because how could the end be happy? How could the world go back to the way it was when so much bad had happened? But in the end, it's only a passing thing, this shadow. Even darkness must pass and a new day will come. And when the sun shines, it'll shine out the clearer. Those are the stories that stayed with you. Those are the stories that mattered, even if you were too small to understand why. I think, Mr. Frodo, I understand now. Folk in those stories had lots of chances of turning back, only they didn't. They kept going because they were holding on to something. What are we holding on to, Sam? That there's some good left in this world, Mr. Frodo, and it's worth fighting for. Let's elect Kamala Harris for president. Please donate now. Thank you, Lynda.